He's sweating!
I won't lie to you. I'm a bit toasty. Water. The ambrosia of Neptune. Okay, Google. What's the temperature in Manchester right now?
The temperature in Manchester right now is
Return to the deepest fires of hell.
Today I'm going to talk about A Long Day's Journey into Night. But before I talk about A Long Day's Journey into Night, I first want to talk a little bit about Parasite. Now, I sort of compare these two films a little bit, and it's not just because they're both Asian films. Well, for one thing, one is Korean and the other is Chinese. So, you know, they're different culturally anyway. I'm sure you know by now that Parasite was the first foreign film to win an Academy Award for Best Picture this year. And it was very deserving of that. Parasite is a very, very good film on its own merits. However, once I'd seen Parasite, I did end up asking myself one question. And that was, why Parasite? Why, out of all the foreign films that could have been the first foreign film to win an Academy Award for Best Picture, was Parasite the very, very first? There's just a ton of films that spring to my mind that I thought, foreign produced, and not just Asian, French, what have you, that I thought was equally as deserving as Best Picture of that specific year. And Long Day's Journey into Night is definitely one of those films. I didn't watch it long before Parasite. I actually watched Long Day's Journey into Night for the first time at the London Short Film Festival 2020, earlier this year. Long Day's Journey into Night is 2 hours long. Short Film Festival, 2 hours. What's the idea of a moderate length film? Ben-Hur? Ben-Hur? I hardly know her. Sorry. I'm going through a very difficult divorce. It's also just really fucking warm. I ended up watching A Long Day's Journey tonight in some tiny back alley fucking venue. I had to go through an art museum to get to a single screen tiny theatre with about 30 to 40 seats in it. The screen was about a fifth the size of a regular cinema screen. It was barely much bigger than a really large TV, and it ended up being about me and 10 to 15 other people watching it. Long Day's Journey into Night is a love story that is structured very uniquely. Basically, the first half is a non-linear telling of the story of these two lovers. It starts off with a man in the present who, after his father's death, goes to look for a lost love. And between that, we get flashbacks to how these two lovers met and fell in love. And, I won't spoil how that sort of comes to a head, but that's sort of the first half. Is we get flashbacks and flash forwards to the past and the past and the present, and then later on in the present, when he's older and he goes off to look for her, and it sort of chronicles his journey as he tries to follow her footsteps. The more notable part of the film is the last hour, which is an hour-long, uncut one-shot, which I didn't know was in the film when I first went in watching it, and I can't even remember at which point in the film it really hit me that it was still going and there hadn't been a cut in ages, which was I remember it being a really wonderful moment when it did hit me. It generally is using it with heart and reason. It is a story device. It's a long day's journey into night. The first half of the film is the long day's journey, his journey to find this woman. And then he goes into night, and then we have this one night where he's very close to finding her and eventually does. The one shot is really admirable. because it's not just the kind of one shot that a lot of films will utilize just to show off, but then try to keep it easy on themselves by keeping it within one room or having the camera stay fairly stationary. This thing goes all over. It goes into a mine shaft, it circles this underground chamber, it exits, it drives on the fucking road, it flies down a zip line, it literally floats across an entire town, back into narrow alleyways, it goes down little staircases. There are even times when you can see the camera detach from a rig and click into place on its next sort of assembly to then roll forward or go more easily downstairs or that kind of thing. And in a lot of films, especially like ones that you can definitely consider or look at and feel like they're lazier, a lot of the times that does feel lazy when you see the camera movement or the camera's going over rickety terrain and the camera's shaking and they haven't accounted for that, they haven't put tracks down. But here, it's a 1 hour one shot and they're using the best technology possible to make that happen. For the most part, every single point in that one shot is beautifully executed. This film is basically maths. It's visual maths. Even during the first half, there are so many shots where the cinematography is so perfectly framed. Transitions are especially done really beautiful because it's all physical. There's a point where you transition from the present to the past, and they do it without cutting the camera. It's really wonderfully done. That blew my mind when I watched it. That was such a creative way to be able to transition like that from present to past without cutting the camera. It's all physical. It's the same with the one shot. The fact that they're able to do this all within the real world. And I think that's why I find the rig changes really charming as opposed to lazy. You can tell they're trying really hard to make it as smooth as possible, but they want this to feel real. They want the camera to feel a part of the environment, and they want you to feel like you're really there. It is a visually stunning film. There are certainly things I feel are better in Parasite, but everyone praised Parasite for how it looks, and I would definitely say that I feel that Long Day's Journey into Night definitely tops Parasite on colour and cinematography. It's a fucking outstandingly gorgeous film. If you're watching a film just for that, then you definitely need to see A Long Day's Journey into Night. Parasite, again, is obviously very well known for its symbolism, and it's very clever in the way it shows that. It does it really well with visuals. Long Day's Journey into Night is very similar. Its dialogue is very fluffy, it's very fancy, it's very poetic, it's very philosophical. The thing I can say about this film is characters are always talking, but it doesn't actually feel like there's that much dialogue, which is very difficult to comprehend, and you would kind of need to watch the film to fully know what I mean by that. A lot of it is anecdotes, a lot of it is calling to little pieces of information and visual information that will come back later on. The film has certainly been described as dreamlike, and the thing with dreamlike films is they're unlike any other films because dreams in general are so unlike any other dream because they're so interpretive and sort of hazy, and you can definitely describe this film with all those things. Characters can be interpreted in two different ways. The way information comes back around can be interpreted in multiple ways. The whole linearity of it is up for interpretation. It is definitely a slow burn, unlike Parasite. If you're looking for something where things are constantly happening, I would definitely and not recommend this in terms of being like Parasite. Its genre is completely different. However, I would say it's the same kind of film in the amount of detail put into its storytelling and its artistry, and if you're looking for a film that is constructed with intense care, then I would definitely recommend Long Day's Journey into Night. It's just an altogether beautiful film, and the only reason I'm doing a review on it and I rewatched it is because I don't think as many people have heard about it as Parasite. And while they are from different countries, if Parasite pulled you into wanting to watch more really high quality foreign films, I figured I'd go ahead and recommend Long Day's Journey into Night. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about A Long Day's Journey into Night. I hope it compelled you to watch it, as it's a very good film.
Strive for perfection.
Stay tuned for lots of different types of content coming up. I'm working on quite a few things, although I am moving soon, so I may have to put a stint in production while I prepare for that. But thanks for watching. Let me know how you feel about these film reviews. And fuck off very quickly.